Good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome everybody to Sun Peaks for our event as we kick off our Friday night session. My name is John Keane. I'm the play-by-play voice for the Kamloops Blazers of the Western Hockey League, and it's my honor to be part of the weekend here the next couple of nights and days. So I want to thank personally BC Hockey for the invite for me up here. I see some familiar faces in the crowd here. I've helped out with various events, some coaches conferences, some hot stove sessions. So it'll be nice to get reacquainted with everybody here once again. I want to as well thank Keegan Goodrich, Manager of Communications. We started working together way back when in Swift Current, and now that he's back in BC, I want to thank him for the invite up here this weekend. I'd like to now call to the stage our chairman of the board, Randy Henderson, as well as the CEO of BC Hockey, that is Barry Petrochenko. Please, guys.
Sorry, it's already been a long day of meetings. Thank you, everyone. I'm very, very happy and excited to be here at Sun Peaks for our 98th annual general meeting. We've got some great operations seminars tonight, and as a board, we're looking forward to our elections and resolutions that will happen tomorrow. We want to welcome you, or I want to welcome you on behalf of the board of directors. And I hope your weekend is very enjoyable and productive. I'll now turn it over to Barry and let him give his remarks. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Randy, and just want to join Randy in welcoming you, but also thanking you for coming. This is always an exciting weekend for us as an organization. Get to talk hockey, which is always a good thing, and I think we've put together a program here to help us share some innovative ideas and some presentations from our national body, from people within our organization who have bring a lot of hockey knowledge to the table. So I hope you enjoy tonight. I know you'll enjoy the weekend. We'll have some fun. We'll have some debate, and hopefully at the end of the day, we'll make hockey better in British Columbia. To get started here this evening, we're going to kick it off with a special video message. So if we could play our welcome video.
Hi, I'm Trevor Linden. On behalf of the Vancouver Canucks, I'd like to welcome you to the BC Hockey Annual General Meeting in beautiful Sun Peaks. The Vancouver Canucks and BC Hockey have enjoyed a great partnership over the years, and we are looking forward to co-hosting the 2019 World Junior Championship. It will be a great event for our province, particularly the host cities of Vancouver and Victoria. The World Juniors are part of the 100-year celebration of BC hockey, with special events planned throughout the next few years.
Shot, left pad save, Bears get the rebound, jammed in by Horvat. A quick shot stopped by letting it loose, puck, hand uses down, they score!
Congratulations to all our minor hockey award winners. Hockey's foundation is on the grassroots level, and volunteers like you make the game great. Thank you for supporting hockey in BC.
Well, thanks to Trevor and the Canucks for that message, and more importantly for the partnership we have with Vancouver Canucks. I would say that it's probably the best branch to, or provincial body to, NHL hockey team relationship in Canada, and we're proud of that. We're proud of the programming that we're able to bring forward from our Canucks Center for BC Hockey, and for everything that the Canucks have done with us, including working with us on the bid for the World Junior Championships. With that excitement, you know, this coming season is going to be an exciting one for us in BC Hockey. We're going to lead into some very big events and milestones across BC and the Yukon. Our organization, what started as and remains as the British Columbia Amateur Hockey Association, of course, will be commemorating our 100th anniversary in the 2018-19 season. And what's great about that is that we have a rich and really incredible history of hockey here in British Columbia, and that makes it kind of easy going into a 100th anniversary celebration, because we know there's a lot of good stuff on hand to celebrate and bring forward to our membership and look back on. Through our next 2 seasons, we'll be having a number of special events leading up to and then really culminating with the World Junior Championship. So we're quite excited. It's an exciting time to be a part of BC Hockey, and I think that our membership can look forward to a lot of really unique events and really once-in-a-lifetime types of programs that will be coming our way. In preparation to commemorate our 100 years, we needed to kick off the celebration and get ready for it, and we've been working at it for a while. We've been budgeting for the celebrations and the planning for the last couple of years, but we decided recently to conduct a contest to gain some help from within the membership to design a logo for the anniversary. And so in the end, after running the contest, we settled on a design concept from a number of submissions that actually came from an 11-year-old player from Cloverdale. So we think that's kind of neat, and we've got a bit of a grassroots feel to that step, and we took that design concept and worked with a design company to create the logo. Our logo for the 100th anniversary will be worn on helmet stickers and at events as jersey patches and various apparel over the next couple of years, so I hope that you'll become quite familiar with it. We'll start that all off in February of 2018, and we'll wear those things, and our players will wear those helmet stickers for the duration of the 2018-2019 season. The design of the logo is a mix of today's logo and a nod to our original round logo from the British Columbia Amateur Hockey Association. Tried to find something that was symmetrical, and it's a pretty straightforward design, but with a focus on the 100 great years within our branch. So with that, we're ready to unveil the logo, so you'll be the first outside of our office staff to see it, and I think we're ready.
I've been selling my name for the sake of who knows. I've been trying to explain how it's all gonna go. I don't take my life for granted. I've been waking up tight day after day. Hope is taking its time to go my way, but I don't take my life for granted. I'm gonna hold on tight to what I've been handed. Oh, I'll try
And at this time, could we please call up Miranda Gadet on the stage and come get her special jersey, a present to Miranda. Miranda's an alumni, TBC alumni, up on stage here for a photo op. Thanks, Miranda. Thanks, Miranda.
Well, I think after having the Olympics here, people are waiting for the next thing to come along.
Residents of BC are due for some good junior hockey, and I mean, sure, you got the WHL and everything, and it's great hockey, it's top of the line, but when you bring the other countries around, it's a completely different atmosphere.
We are ready. We have the history and we have the heart to host an amazing hockey event in British Columbia. We are ready.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I came to Vancouver in 1988, and the change that I've seen in this market from becoming kind of a West Coast town that had a hockey team to becoming a province and city that is passionate and loves this game. And then the history of hosting world caliber events. You know, the World Junior in '06 was a massive success here, and of course the games in 2010, what can you say? You talk to any Vancouverite, you know, they can't say enough good things. So we're ready. The world loves coming to Vancouver. Victoria, the outstanding venues. Couldn't ask for a better setup, I believe.
Victoria and Vancouver are used to shining together. Sometimes we like to think of Vancouver as our big sister. She's leading the way and we're here to support and follow in her footsteps. So Vancouver and Victoria are well poised as partners to host the world. People already come here from all over the world, so to welcome hockey fans and hockey players, we're used to hosting and we're ready to do that again.
We really saw the spirit and the celebration of fans here in Vancouver in the 2010 Olympics. And when Sidney Crosby scored the overtime goal to win the gold medal and hundreds of thousands of people were celebrating in our streets, it was an incredible buzz.
Yeah, I still remember it.
The golden goal. Like, that's the moment. And it's the most memorable. It's what made 2010 so special.
But how we won it and the way we won it, and it was almost like it was written by Shakespeare.
He came off the wall, passed it down low, got it back, and shot 5-hole.
Where the arena just erupted in the loudest cheer I'd ever heard in my life.
Again, let's go! Sidney Crosby, the golden goal! And Canada has once in a lifetime Olympic gold!
We love that feeling in Vancouver, and I don't think anything quite triggers it like big hockey moments. That's what we're all about here.
It transcends generations, it touches you all in a different way, and by dropping the puck, it gives you the opportunity to live those moments.
There's no question that the 2019 World Junior Championships are going to be again one of those catalysts that brings everybody together. And having an event like that in this province and in the communities that are going to be hosting is going to make everybody feel a part of it and get excited about it and proud to be Canadians and part of the world.
In 2006, I went with my family. The kids were so young, they don't remember much about it, but if we could go again in 2019, I think it'd be a great experience for all of us. We'd love to go again.
I'm just ready for it.
So a lot to look forward to. Last year, certainly, that was a big part of what made it exciting for us. That picture you see right there is our host bid team. Probably about 20 minutes after the official announcement, maybe 12 hours after Hockey Canada finally let the cat out of the bag and let us know that we could exhale, and we actually had the bid, and so some pretty happy people in that picture there. We had a great team, and we had done a lot of work to that point. Little did we know that the work was just beginning, but we're really looking forward, of course, to 2019 and the event that we think is going to be pretty special here for our entire branch. Since that time, Hockey Canada has let us know a few ideas or a few reasons why we were successful, and I actually stole this slide from a Hockey Canada presentation that they gave, and it's obvious that people love to come to British Columbia. We know that. We all know how beautiful it is here, but we also try to take advantage of the fact that people want to come here, and in doing so, we do a great job. Whether it's our minor hockey associations or host bid groups, we're turning out to be fantastic hosts for events. Certainly setting the standards. Kamloops a couple years or a year ago set a new standard for a women's worlds and the way that they interacted with the communities and developed programming in and around female hockey. Certainly Dawson Creek, Fort St. John, and the World Under 17 are hosts in Prince George this year for the TELUS Cup. Chilliwack next year with the RBC Junior A National Championship. And all setting standards along the way, and we plan to set a new standard with the World Junior in 2019. We certainly had a lot of help, a lot of great partners along the way, and so many people put so much time into the bid. It's incredible how much work you can do between June and December, and how much had to come together to make it happen. But the quality of people that we have in British Columbia, it was a real eye-opener for me in the sense that I knew we were good. I just didn't know how good and how deep we were with our personnel. And all of these groups on the screen stepped up to the plate in a big way, and of course really came through with us being successful. The thing that's maybe the most important to me, or my favorite part of all of this, is that it coincides with our ability to celebrate our history, as we've talked about tonight, and our new logo starting that off. But it was really the core of the reason why we got the bid. It was our ability to tie in this event, which we all know is a world-class event, but to tie it into the grassroots level. And the major theme of our bid was not only celebrating the history of BC hockey, but culminating that celebration with the World Juniors. And as you can see there on the screen, 100 years is a long time. We should be proud of that. Certainly had a lot of logos throughout those 100 years. But as we said, all of those materials, those stickers, the events that we'll have leading up to the event will hopefully tie our entire branch into the World Junior Championships, so that it will no doubt be a great celebration in Vancouver and Victoria, but I think we can find a way to make it a pretty darn good party on the way to it around the province. We have a lot to be proud of, as I've said, and we've got great teams and outstanding athletes that have come through our branch over the years, from the Trail Smoke Eaters and the Penticton V's senior teams winning world championships. To guys like Scott Niedermeyer and Joe Sakic, who are recent Hall of Fame inductees. We have a lot to celebrate among our players, coaches, and builders from both BC and the Yukon. And we plan to do so with a number of events. We're going to try and celebrate with a truck and trailer decorated to go across the province as a bit of a mobile celebration unit to visit our tournaments and engage our communities right there at the ice level and as a grassroots, as we say. The kickoff for our event will be in February 2018, and that will run right through just beyond the World Junior Championships. We'll also be celebrating in conjunction with the BC Hockey Hall of Fame in Penticton, and we'll have several World Junior pre-event celebrations. So that will be ideal, but we also, as a bonus to the process, we have a great side benefit, what we called a pre-legacy, which will in fact engage the entire province. And Our BC government support of the bid was outstanding, but the best part of it was that we had a bit of a ripple effect in that we were able to secure through the process a $300,000 grant to use toward outreach programming. So to try and grow the game, build the game in our existing associations and across the province. So that will extend beyond our host cities and will definitely allow us to engage our membership in that programming, and we'll be able to brand it as the Road to the World Juniors. We'll be staging or hosting countries in 5 cities across BC. We'll have Team Canada in Victoria for the pre-event, their pre-event festivities. And then we'll also have a number of items in and around the event, like Coaches Hot Stoves, Try It programming. We'll get the officials in there with seminars. Every minor hockey tournament around Christmas will have a World Junior theme, and we'll contribute to those tournaments to try and help raise the profile of them, to help the local associations in that regard. Yes, we will be trying to create a mascot for the event to engage with our 12 and under our target audience to make sure that they're not forgotten either. So we're hoping to have lots of fun, but also grow the game a little bit and see some real benefits from the event. The event itself will, I think everybody's familiar with the format. Victoria will host one of the pools, as will Vancouver. Then there'll be quarterfinal games in both cities, with the semis and the finals being in Vancouver. We'll also have the Team Canada Summer Camp in 2018, somewhere in British Columbia. So get your host bid ideas ready for us, and we'll be reaching out on that. And then I just wanted to give you an idea of the excitement that's growing around the province already. There's already interest significantly in the marketplace. We're feeling like we're in a good spot with the numbers and the interest in the deposits that have already been put down. But of course, part of the work we have to do is our team has to activate on those promises or on that interest. So that's our goal for the next year or so. And what we'll be working hard for is really to create our legacy from the event. The board has considered options for what we hope will be a significant legacy, and if we hit our targets, it will be a real boon to our programming. We've already started toward that legacy by trying to address the fact that we cover a pretty expansive territory in our province and the Yukon, and it's pretty diverse, and we certainly want to ensure that our hockey legacy lives on here within BC Hockey. So we've identified the need to support our minor hockey associations and our coaches to provide quality programming throughout the province, and we're going to do that by kicking off. We're opening a regional center in Salmon Arm, hopefully by July 10th, if everything goes right. And then in the north by the fall of this year. And I'm happy to let you know that the legacy will cover the costs of that type of programming for us across our regions for a significant number of years, to allow us to establish those operations and provide that support to our membership. So pretty exciting that we're able to accomplish that type of a legacy from this, and again, going right back to our bid process where everything's focused on getting down or involving the grassroots. So we're very excited about that, very happy about that. And of course, we're 2 for 2 at major hockey events in BC, so there's a little bit of pressure on Team Canada to come through a third time here in Vancouver and Victoria. We know that we can count on other places in the province, though, to step up as well to make this event truly outstanding. And so we're confident that our groups that have hosted other events throughout the province will be there to assist. We're confident that we can bring this event pretty close to you and pretty close to your associations. And one of the reasons why I think we're heading into a very unique time period where we're not just celebrating, but also growing our rich history. And to be a part of that history has been fun. To help write that a little bit, I think we can all kind of rally together and take up that cause in the next couple of years. So I'm really excited to get moving on it. I kind of want it to happen all at once, but it's certainly, we're heading in the right direction, and I for one can't wait to see how we turn out as a branch, as a province, and how the event goes on the ice. So I hope you enjoyed that update. We can certainly cover some questions in and around the event if there are any at the President's Breakfast tomorrow morning, or if you catch me in the hallway or Randy or any of our board members during the course of the weekend. So I thank you for your attention on that portion of our program this evening. We now are going to get into some deeper hockey issues, and I'll call, who's coming up, Keegan? All right, now here we go. Sorry, I didn't see you in the corner there. Thanks for your attention.
Thanks, Barry, and we look forward to that event. It's going to be a great event coming up in late 2018, 2019. Now I want to get into some guests of ours to give some presentations, and Barry said a word that kind of caught my attention. He says some issues, and I got thinking about perspective of why we're here and just in general what we do and the sport of hockey. And it reminds me of something that happened when I was in Swift Current. Tim Keller, who has worked with BC Hockey before, he's done some high performance. He's given some coaches conferences, speeches from Hollyburn Country Club, so I know that a lot of people would know Tim Keller. And we were in the playoffs in the WHL one time, and it was Swift Current against Calgary. It was a big second round series. And Tim was an assistant coach of the Broncos, and we were there for a game day skate for the Black Aces. So the Black Aces, the young guys, the call-ups, the 15, 16-year-olds were all skating with the third goaltender. And so Tim's running that practice, running that skate, and Daryl Sutter just kind of pops onto the bench in his flannel shirt, and he's got a coffee in his hand, and he's kind of taking everything in, seeing what's going on. He was the head coach of the Flames at the time. And Tim's along the bench, and Daryl kind of leans over and says, "How's the ice?" And Tim, there was a concert there the night before or an event, so it wasn't the best. So Tim was being honest. Tim goes, "Yeah, it's a little chippy, it's a little flaky. It's not very good here this morning." And Daryl kind of took it in, looked around a little bit, says to Tim, "These guys, what, 15, 16 years old?" And Tim's like, "Yep." "This is the Western Hockey League?" And Tim's, "Yeah." "Big city of Calgary?" Tim, "Yeah." "The Calgary Saddle Dome?" And Tim was like, "Uh-huh. Where are you going with this?" And Daryl goes, "I'd say the ice is pretty good, wouldn't you?" So that just reminds me about perspective and about just issues and things like that. Yeah, sure, we have issues, but it's still just hockey. We're just all here for the greater good of the game. We're all here because we care, and after all, it's still just a game, and it's a big reason why we care so much about it. It's just that much fun. All right, let's get into our speakers now. I want to talk more about Cross Ice, which is a program that BC Hockey's really been a leader and getting this initiative started. To talk about the program, though, on a national level, I'd like to welcome the Director of Hockey Development and Programs with Hockey Canada. Please welcome Corey McNabb. Corey.
Good evening, everybody. Honored to be here. I'd like to thank Randy and Barry and the BC Hockey Board for the opportunity to come out and participate this weekend. It's something for us as national staff at the national office that's important to make sure that we are into the branches and into the provinces and get a chance to interact with people and really be involved in the game. I've been with Hockey Canada since 1997. I get about 100 emails a day on everything from how do I tape my daughter's stick to I can't believe the forecheck you guys are using with the Olympic team and everything in between. When we do well on the international stage, I get emails from the other countries about how we cheated, we paid the refs off, we did, you name it. When we don't do well on the international stage, I get emails from every crackpot in Canada about what's going on. Probably got an email from someone in here at some point, so do have a couple of BC email addresses that have been saved. I actually have an email folder called Beauties, and I got about 500 emails saved in there over the years of some very entertaining emails that I've gotten from people around the world. So when I'm out of the hockey game, I got a book written for me, so if you have sent an email, you will be there at some point. But I want to talk a little bit about cross-ice hockey. BC Hockey has been a leader in this. A lot of other branches, a lot of other provinces have followed BC Hockey's lead in really what's doing the right thing for the kids at the right stage of their development. The rink was designed to have 2 goalies and 10 adult skaters on that size of surface. It wasn't designed to have 5- and 6-year-olds playing on a hockey rink that was designed for adults. If we look at it proportionally, adults will be playing on a rink the size of a soccer field, and we don't do that. So when we talk about cross-ice hockey, half-ice hockey, it's really about age appropriateness. And I believe in it 100%. And again, I'd like to congratulate BC Hockey for being a leader in transforming the game. A couple months ago, the end of March, we put a policy in place nationally that for 5- and 6-year-olds, it is cross-ice or half-ice hockey only. And that practice has been going on for a long time. Since our initiation program started in 1985 out of Cranbrook, it's always been promoting cross-ice, using space that's appropriate for the age of the kids. I'm going to show you some stats on the number of puck touches they get, the number of shots they get on net, the amount of space it takes to get up to full skating speed. And I know there's lots of traditional views on saying that that's not hockey, it's not real hockey, but at the end of the day, hockey is about participation for kids. It's not necessarily meant as entertainment for adults. It's making sure we have more boys and girls that are participating, more boys and girls that are touching the puck, that are shooting the puck, that are passing the puck, and at the end of the day, that's what the game is all about. It's about making sure that those kids are active, that they're participating, and that they're having fun first and foremost. Presentations are going to be available to everyone after the seminar, but we think it's important that we've talked to a lot of people in the game, from people coaching boys and girls at 5 and 6 years old, all the way up to people that have been involved at the national team level, at the NHL level. And without any prompting whatsoever, we've asked questions of players and coaches on what they think about the benefits of cross-ice hockey or small area games. So there's a video from Barry Trotz.
The small area game to me is so essential. I think good coaches at every level use the small area games. That's what the game is about as you go up the ladder. That's where you can develop your skill and your instinct, your quickness, your motor skills, all that. I think the small area game is a tremendous tool for all coaches at all levels.
What is small area games? Appropriate size ice surfaces. It's all about designing practice, designing games that are appropriate for the size, the age, and the skill level of the adult, or sorry, of the player. At the end of the day, that's what we have to be concerned with, is making sure that the situation that we are putting the young boys and girls in is appropriate for their age. Here's a little video we have from USA Tennis, and I think this really hits home about the importance of adapting the game to the size of our kids.
change is coming to tennis, and kids are leading the way. It's called 10 and under tennis, and it's a fun way for your kids to really learn the game. With courts and equipment modified to fit them, kids will develop faster and better and enjoy themselves along the way. So get your kids involved now. With 10 and under tennis, every child can learn to love the game.
Almost every other sport in the world has adapted the size of the playing field, the size of the equipment to meet the needs of the kids. Almost every hockey country in the world is adapting the size of the rink and the style of play for the age and skill level of the kids. Kids will learn offsides very quickly. Kids will learn icing very quickly. It takes a lot more time to learn how to skate, to turn, to stop, to handle the puck, to pass the puck, and shoot the puck. And when you're doing it in a small area, it's going to happen that much more quickly. For us, it's all about utilizing the ice surface, fundamental skills, keeping more kids active. If we got 20 kids on the ice, it's important that they're active for as much time as possible. And a lot of the resources we've created are showing different ways for coaches, for minor hockey associations to break up the ice, to give them an opportunity to see how much more benefit there is, how many more times they touch the puck in practice, how many more times they get a shot in a game. And so we've done a lot of work in creating a lot of resources that go towards those types of things. For coaches, how to divide the ice into 3 stations, 4 stations, 6 stations, 8 stations. We've got 133 videos that we've shot for boys and girls at the 5 to 8-year-old level as resources for coaches. How do we keep 60 kids on the ice and keep them active? How do we keep 60 kids on the ice and keep them busy? How do we make sure that we're maximizing that amount of time that they're there? And so we'll just got a little video in the middle here using ice dividers on how easy it is and how creative you can be as a coach or an association to adapt the ice surface to make sure that we're covering all the skills, they're getting maximum amount of activity, maximum amount of puck touches, to make sure that at the end of the day, when those kids are there for that hour or hour 15, whatever their ice time is, that we're maximizing every single minute of it. And at the end of the day, if you ask kids what's their favorite thing to do, they want to handle the puck, they want to shoot the puck, they want to score goals. And so using things in a small area, you can see there we had some sped up video of, we had 4 cross ice games going on at the same time. We had 60 kids out there. They were all active. Again, when you look at the amount of time and space that happens when you're doing cross ice with 5 and 6-year-olds, 7 and 8-year-olds, the cross ice rink size is proportionate as if it was adults playing on a big rink. People are going to say, well, they can't get up to full skating speed. They can't do this, they can't do that. All the studies disprove that. USA Hockey's done a great study. A lot of other countries have done studies. We've done a study in Canada that shows how much more you touch the puck, how many more shots you get on net. Hockey Alberta's done a great study on skating speed. And all these are just data that we can help to try and sell the concept. With cross ice or half ice, you can be as creative as you want. You can have 3 games going on. You can have 2 games in a skill area, 2 games in a rest area, whatever you want to do, however you want to make it work for your association. Every association is unique. Some of them you're only going to have 15 kids on the ice. Well, you still might as well maximize the ice. Some of them are going to have 60 or 70 kids on the ice. It's all about maximizing the time and the opportunities that we have. But again, it's about fundamental game skills. Small area, age appropriate, and modifying the games. I remember as a kid growing up in northern Alberta, we were on the outdoor rink. If there was only 6 kids there that day, we were smart enough ourselves to bring one of the nets down from the other end and make the area smaller. So kids will figure out what they need to do to make the game more fun, more success for themselves. Mike Babcock.
Obviously, we do a lot of small area competition in practice. Players love it. The game gets condensed to a small area. If you can't make a play in tight spaces, it's hard to play at the National Hockey League level, so it's so important to practice it over and over again.
It's a key aspect. The higher the level you go in hockey, the irony is the more they do in a small area, the more they do in a small space. the ability to read and react, make a decision, handle the puck, start, stop, turn, change direction. We see it all over the country. Coaches of kids of young teams trying to run flow drills where there's 3 kids moving and 14 standing still in a corner. As we get older into Adam and Pee Wee, we see kids who don't have the ability to handle the puck in a small area. They don't have the ability to make decisions, to read and react. And the coaches at the top level, that's what it's all about now. They want players who can think, players who have hockey sense, players who can play the game in a small area. We did a study with our World Junior team a couple of years ago. 75% of the game, the puck was in one end or the other. Only 25% was the puck actually in the neutral zone. And yet we still see the traditional flow drills up and down the ice where the puck is only in the neutral zone for a fraction of the game. Everything else happens blue line in. And those are the skills that are going to make players better. And so not only is it from an activity standpoint of making sure that we're putting them in the environment where they're going to learn and when they're going to develop, but it's also about success in the game. And it doesn't matter if you're Adam, if you're initiation, if you're bantam, if you're midget, or if you're pro. It's all about giving the players the tools so that they can have success in the game. The phrase we like to use is decrease the space, increase the pace. Now again, we know there's thoughts traditionally that, the game's not as fast. The game, you need the flow, you need the full length of the ice to get things going. But in reality, especially at younger levels, 1 or 2 kids touch the puck. 1 player gets the puck in their own zone, they skate to the other end, 9 players don't touch it. Someone from the other team gets it and brings it back down. We've all seen it. How much are those players actually developing when there's only 1 or 2 players that are touching the puck? So again, it comes down to making sure that the games are designed to make sure that it's meeting the needs of the young boys and girls. We found that there's a higher intensity and more consistency in a higher intensity of the game. When kids figure out that they actually have a chance to get the puck, they're going to work harder to get it. My dog is smart enough to figure out if I throw a tennis ball 100 yards, he'll run 20 and stop. Looks at me and says, you go get it. But if I throw it 30 yards, he'll go get it every single time. Kids are the same way. They understand as long as they have a chance, they're going to try and go for the puck. They're going to compete for it. They're going to want to score goals. And there's a lot of benefits that happen just on kids on their own. Look at small area games, the skills, stops and starts. There's a lot more body contact, not necessarily body checking, but body contact, because there's more kids around and involved in the puck all the time. Angling, steering, acceleration, all the skills that are really, really important in the game today are the ones that are really, really emphasized in small area games. Again, heard some coaches talking about it. Now we have Crosby, still the best player in the world, talking about the benefit of small area games.
Yeah, I do a lot of small area stuff. I mean, you have to be able to make plays in pretty small areas, and the more you practice that, I think the better off you are. But yeah, I've always tried to work on that a lot.
Some more skills: hockey sense, game-like conditions, confidence. Hockey sense is basically a learned trait based on experiences. If we want kids to develop hockey sense, we have to continually put them in situations where they're going to get to develop it. Okay? Shea Weber talking about it as well from a defenseman side.
You try and work on 3-on-3 or 2-on-2 and tight, and obviously there's a lot of benefit in small areas because the game's played. Obviously with 5 guys aside, it's pretty tight, and you got to have skill and be able to make plays in a short amount of time and in high traffic areas.
Little diagram here shows the top 5 and 6-year-olds playing full ice. Typically that means there's 10 kids on the ice, 20 kids sitting on the bench watching. Half ice, 20 kids on the ice, 10 sitting on the bench. When you get to the bottom, cross-ice hockey, multiple cross-ice games, there's 0 kids sitting on the bench. Those are just numbers you can't dispute. Go to any rink and you watch it. There's kids sitting on the bench watching 3 minutes, 6 minutes at a time. When you go to practice or a game and you're actually expecting, you're there for physical activity, but you're only active 30% of the time. We're not necessarily doing what's best for the young boys and girls. If we play the top video, you're going to see a classic viewpoint of what 5-on-5 hockey is with 5 and 6-year-olds. So far, we got one player who's touched the puck. Feel bad for those little guys just getting inside the blue line. Now it's going the other way. This happens every day, all day, across Canada. So when you really look at it from the game standpoint, there's not a lot of action. This is a typical bench in 5-on-5 for young kids. All they want to do is get out there and skate and shoot and handle the puck, but they're sitting there for 3 minutes. Okay, the other videos we can skip over. They're just going to show you some more examples of what it's like. But the study to show individual puck touches, 2 times as many. Shots per player, 6 times more shots. Shots on goal per minute, almost 3 more shots per minute. We talk about trying to develop goalies. We're trying to develop kids who have skills, who can score goals. The funnest thing for kids is trying to score goals. So all the stats are showing it. And I think it's really important that as adults, we try to get away from our own sort of traditional thoughts on things like that and really look at what's good for the kids. Pass receptions, 5 times greater. Pass attempts, 2 times greater. Body contact and puck battles. And that is so huge in the game today. It's not about the guys out there throwing the big hits. It's about competing. It's about winning those 50-50 puck battles in a small area. Small area games teaches you to do that because you're involved in the play nonstop. Acceleration. Hockey Alberta did an extensive study on this and showed that in a small area, acceleration is actually increased by 10%. And the biggest reason for that is because you are actually skating and accelerating so much more. We saw half those little boys and girls in that video. Once the puck got down the ice a certain distance, they were just gliding, they were coasting. Until they got near the puck is when they pick up the speed, which only makes sense. For young kids at 8 and under, top speed can be reached in 65 feet. So anyone who thinks that you need the full length of the ice to get to top speed, the reality of it is just not true. The data shows that you can reach top speed in 65 feet. How wide is a normal rink? 85 feet. So kids can get up to top speed going across the ice. And in the game of hockey right now, top speed is not necessarily the best skating skill to develop. It's acceleration. It's the ability to get from here to 15 feet away for a puck or 20 feet away from a puck over here. It's the ability to move east-west, stop, start, turn, accelerate. Those are the skills from skating that are much more important, and they're all enhanced by playing small area. Video from World Championships from a couple years ago. Again, we have Crosby here. If you look at the different skating skills, you're going to see that basically all happen below the dots. This is what makes players great.
A lot of studies have shown that top-end skating speed isn't necessarily the most important skating skill. It's the ability to change speed and change direction and to accelerate that are more important. And when you look at games at higher levels, very, very often it's the players who have the ability in a small area to accelerate, to win that race to a puck that's 15 feet away, win the 50-50 battles because they can get there quicker. Those things are more important than just skating up and down the ice in a straight line. And so again, when it comes to players and having success in the games, acceleration and quickness are probably more skating assets that are beneficial to players than just being able to skate in a straight line from end to end.
Turning left, turning right, stops, starts, acceleration. Again, so many skating skills happen in a very, very small area. That's where players learn to do it when we put them in a situation, not only in practice, but that they're faced with in games as well. I mentioned a little about some of the resources that we provided for coaches. Section on our Hockey Canada website called Drill Hub. There's about 500 different drills on there. They're all small area. Resources for coaches to give them ideas on how to teach those things. Our network app is designed to give coaches tools on how to plan practices. if there's mentors in associations, how mentors can put practices together for coaches, all with video, so that it can be much more efficient, get more coaches on the same page, teaching the same type of skills. Again, tutorials, step-by-step processes on how to utilize those materials. How do I find those videos? How do I put them into a practice plan? How do we create a legacy with these practice plans so experienced coaches can help inexperienced coaches, so people new to the game, or even people who are trying to buy into the concept of the importance of small area games, and then actual competition that's done the same way. And so, you know, we've done a lot of studies, we've done a lot of research, we've looked at other hockey countries, see what they do. In Finland and Sweden, you don't play a game of 5-on-5 until the kids are 10 years old. It's all about developing the small area skills. Studies show it's much easier to learn skills, learn the game in a small area and graduate to a bigger space than it is the opposite way around. It's much more difficult to learn a game in big space and then condense it down to a smaller space. So the associations, the provinces like BC who are taking a lead in this, the advantages are going to pay off. At the end of the day, number one, we have more kids that are having fun because they're involved. We have more kids that are active, more kids that are going to develop a higher level of fundamental skills, and we're going to have more kids that at the end of the day are going to play the game longer, and they're going to have more success as they go through it. Top video here is an example of an adapted form of soccer called futsal. Every single top soccer player in the world plays futsal. Most of them played it at a young age. It's still soccer, but it's all about handling the ball. How to handle it in traffic, how to make plays. It doesn't require a huge outdoor soccer field. A lot of the kids in South America play this in the parks, they play it on the beaches. But it's all about learning the fundamental skills. And I think it's a pretty good video to show the analogy of the type of skills we can develop in hockey players by going into a small area.
Oh, you! What you want? What you want? She ain't got no money in the bank. Sitting back counting double-digit thousands.
You see in a lot of the videos the creativity that is developed because of the fact that you have to. If you're just running down the length of the full soccer field, there's no one around you, there's no reason to learn any of those other skills. You just push the ball and run, push the ball and run. But adapted versions of sport, just like we saw with the tennis video, with Little League Baseball, with basketball, that's where we're truly going to develop a higher level of skill in our young players.
Bam, bop, bada bop, boom, pow. Back counting double-digit thousands. This is what I heard her say. See you later, alligator. After a while, I won't let you.
There, I think you get the picture. At the end of the day, our job at Hockey Canada and BC Hockey and minor hockey associations isn't to put kids in the NHL or on the women's Olympic team. If that was our goal, we're failing miserably because it's only about 0.03% of the kids who ever play the game will get to that level. But our job is to make sure that they're active, that they're having fun, that we develop the fundamental skills so they'll keep playing the game. A lot of kids leave the game at a certain age because if they haven't developed the fundamental skills, it's not as fun. Golf is probably the only sport you can go out there and be absolutely terrible at every weekend, but just still come back and play with your buddies because of the social aspect. Hockey is a sport that the better you are at it, the more you're going to play, the more you're going to enjoy it, the more you can continue to be involved. And so with cross-ice hockey and small area games, it's more about changing the mindset and saying, do I want my son or daughter in an activity where they're going to touch the puck, where they're going to turn left, turn right, accelerate, start, stop, or do I want them in a situation where they're sitting on the bench for 2/3 of the game watching, or where they get out there and they might go 4, 5, 6 shifts in a row and never even touch the puck? So when we think about it from a traditional component of how we look at games from an adult side, we really need to start to consider how do kids look at it? And so for us, that's really the focus, is to make sure that we're putting kids in an environment where they have the best opportunity to enjoy the game and also to continue to develop the skills so they can enjoy the game longer and have more of them playing at a high level for a longer period of time. So that's just a quick snapshot of cross-ice hockey, small area games, the benefits of that type of thing. It's done at the highest level. We need to do more of it at the lowest level. And again, BC Hockey being a leader in the country as far as mandating the style of game, how the games are going to be played at initiation and novice, and creating transition plans into Adam. A lot of other provinces have looked at that step. And for those of you that are worried that they're going to be doing something different in Manitoba or doing something different in Ontario, it's consistent. Everyone is going to the same style of gameplay because everyone is realizing that that's the best thing for our boys and girls. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Corey. That was great. That was some great stuff there. I don't know how you found my defenseman, though, for my beer league hockey team to do your soccer videos there. Looked a lot like those guys out there, too. Our next speaker, we'd like to now call upon the BC Hockey's coaching coordinator, Aaron Hoffman, please. Aaron.
All right, so I'm sure right now that you're all rested and ready to go with a little talk about hockey. As I was watching those videos, and most recently I was in Toronto, and Tom Rennie was speaking to the IP group, and he said, this program started back in Cranbrook. I'm a byproduct of that environment. Back when I was growing up, I played with the Niedermeyers. We had 17 players go on to play junior A or higher. And that was from the Tier 1 and Tier 2 teams. It wasn't about developing 5 kids or 2 kids. It was about developing everyone. And I can tell you, I would never, ever remember a time where I was standing still during a practice. Our coaches were engaged. They had us all moving. They had us in small areas. And we loved the sport. Better yet, we were able to play other sports outside the hockey season. Went on to play provincial ball, provincial track, World Tough Mudders, eventually going on to winning national championships twice in floorball. It's about developing athletes and developing great people. And I can tell you every single one of those people, including the coaches and players, I can call today, they still love the game, and they'll still talk about the game, and they'll help in droves. That's what I want. Whenever I'm with Corey McNabb, the poor guy doesn't get any sleep because I will pick his brain. Since receiving this position with BC Hockey, I've read probably in the neighborhood of 80 articles on the long-term development model and IP process, along with looking to see how other athletes went about becoming professional, like Gordie Howe, how he was completely ambidextrous. And how Nadal, when he was 12, an aspiring soccer player along with a tennis player, was told at 12 that he could not play soccer anymore if he missed one practice, even though his uncle played for Real Madrid, pretty good soccer team. We are leading and promoting lifelong hockey experiences. For 5 and 8-year-olds, we want it to be fun. We don't want them to think that they're going to touch the puck once or twice. Or worse, be that kid that gets alienated because he plays with the puck the entire time. And then we have to go outside of the season in order for us to think that we can be hockey players. There are some kids, I believe, think they're out of the hockey loop at 9 years old if they're not on a year-long program. We can do a better job. Every time I sit down with coaches that are motivated and are willing to try the cross-ice mandate, you get more buy-in. That's what we need. The different initiatives we've had and we're moving forward with is dealing with cross-ice best practices. And that's simply put, there's a lot of video that was done in the Okanagan alone. Jeff O'Keefe, one of our IP leads, went out and videotaped and talked to coaches in Kelowna and Salmon Arm, and there was some incredible stuff taking place. We want you as coaches in our province to come forth with best practices. Show us some video evidence, so that way we can showcase how it can be done right. Gameplay logistics, roster information, practice plans, skills inventory. Now, I'm not sure how many people in this room know, but Hockey Canada has set out a set of skills that are mandated for each kid to have by the time they're up to midget. I encourage you to go and watch a midget house league game or a recreational game and see how many of these skills are lacking, even though they're in the system right from the earliest onset. We have these skills available, but if we don't follow the system, what we have with BC Hockey and Hockey Canada, there are going to be some gaps. And there are going to be some kids that are frustrated that are not going to want to come back into the fold. We had a great group work together for the Adam Transitional Plan. We put our minds together and we worked hours to try to come up with a formula that's going to best work for kids when they get to Adam, that they're not going to be unable to understand how to go on the ice and not be offside or dealing with icings. I can tell you, working at the Skills Academy as well, I had a kid named Shota. Shota was from Japan, and I had a couple kids that went on to the Western League that following year. And he goes, "Oh, Mr. Hoffman, I am so excited to be here and playing hockey with you in Canada." I'm like, "Oh, that's great, Shota. Where did you play hockey?" "Oh, I never played hockey." So I have kids that are playing, quad midget, and I've got Shota who's never skated before. But he's all, "Mr. Hoffman, I'm an athlete." He was a competitive ball player back in Japan. Within 2 years of having Shota with the Skills Academy, where we did very similar to what we do with cross ice at the IP level, you could not tell the difference between Shota and a regular rep player because he looked at the fundamentals. He broke down the skills. He watched the players, and he loved the game. If you love the game and you have coaches that buy in to deliver skill to the mass of people, not just one or two, but the whole mass of players that are on the ice, you will make a difference, and you will have more Shotas in this world. Coach 1 pilot presentations. We are going gangbusters with this year coming up. I've been on the phone a ton, and I'm going to pick the brains of a lot of you in this room throughout this weekend. I want the representation to take place in this entire province, in the Kootenays, and up north, in the Lower Mainland. We need to get this out there. We need to get people understanding that this is the way to do it. And I can tell you, I wasn't the greatest player of the world by any means, but playing Junior A and being a captain for the Merit Centennials was huge to me, just as it was with those 17 other players that went on and played competitive hockey. There's also a cross-ice officiating guide. We want to make it easier. We want to make it where these players, coaches, and parents know what's going on. I want transparency. We touched on it briefly with Corey with the Hockey Canada Network app. There's places over in Calgary, I believe, right, Corey, where we have big screen TVs in behind the glass. If you're unable to show the skill, you can have video to show the kids what to do. Better yet, let's send some video to parents and players and coaches prior to the practice so they know what they're going to do. I did when I was little. Colin Patterson now is with the BC Hockey Hall of Fame. Scott Niedermeyer, pretty good player. He didn't advance up the levels. And I looked, and I believe that was Paul Correa playing for the Burnaby Winter Club. We played them in the provincial final and beat them. It wasn't because we had bigger wallets. It's because we had coaches that believed in us, cared about us, and made us athletes. and better human beings. I'm here to pay it forward for them. And you know what? I want the enthusiasm. I want next time when we come into this forum that there is no empty seats up front. This is waterfront. Because the more energy we get, the better we're going to be as an association, the better we are going to have players moving forward. It's going to be an incredible experience. And with hosting the 2019 games, it's only going to get better. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're getting a little bit tired, but you're going to get more tired because I'm going to pick your brains. Because I know every single one of you in here have something to offer me and our association and our kids, most importantly. Thank you.
Very well said. I'm looking for a wall to go run through here now for Coach here somewhere. Of course, we've been talking a lot about cross, of course, the BC Hockey, the cross-ice forefront so far this evening. We're going to get it down a little bit even further into the younger age groups, talking about implementation of cross-ice hockey in the initiation and the novice levels. Our next speaker will touch on the development that will benefit high-performance players as their careers progress. He is Team BC's head coach. That will lead BC to the 2017 U16 Western Canada Challenge in Calgary. Then the year after that, he will also coach Team BC at the Canada Winter Games in Red Deer. He's also currently the associate coach of the WHL's Prince George Cougars. Please welcome Steve O'Rourke.
I should have probably practiced this little clicker before I came up here. But thank you for BC Hockey and for inviting me here to cover the small area games. When I started getting asked about this, I wasn't sure what we were talking about. You get immersed into your own hockey, into the WHL, your own coaching, and they're talking about this cross-ice, a small area, seasonal stuff, and I had to find out more. I'm glad I'm here. It becomes even a more greater honor to lead Team BC in the next 2 years, knowing about the 100 years, also where Team BC and BC Hockey is going with their initiatives. It's exciting. I love to see that type of forward thinking. So for me, my area here is small area games. And for me, when I started thinking about this, I think about two things. I think about the challenges and I think about the benefits of small area games. And we'll get right into it. The challenges that I see, right first and foremost, is the old school thinking, okay? And I'll share a quick story with you. I won't say where I was or who I was with, but we're in the playoffs. We lose the first game of the playoffs. And this is a team that usually is top 5 in goals, top 5 in power play. Usually got 3 or 4 guys in the top 20 in scoring. So a very skilled team. We come in the next day. We're going to do our pregame skate. We're watching the team do their pregame skate. We get through it, and then all of a sudden they grab the nets and they go cross ice and they play 3-on-3. And this particular coach gives me a whack. And he goes, "Look at those skilled pukes," he says to me. And I'm like, yeah, well, there's a reason they're skilled, is because they're playing small area games all the time. And that's a big part of our game now, is small areas. Next area is winning. One thing we get focused on with the winning side of things is we're so content about trying to win hockey games from the novice level right up to the pro level. And that what happens with that is we start to lose focus of the development. And the problem is, to really win, you have to develop the whole player. You can't just develop a system. You got to develop the whole player in every aspect of it. And then the other part of that winning is, and I'll see it throughout this presentation, but we sit there and we go, we have 60 minutes. So do I really want to allot 10 to 20 minutes to play in a game? Do I want to take that away from what's going to help me win, which I think is probably my system? And so that's another challenge that we face, which leads into systems. And for the most part, we get going and we think the only way I'm going to win a hockey game is if I have a really good system. And then we turn these guys into robots and we don't have them thinking. Corey talked about it, the critical thinking. I think Nashville right now is a great example of that. We keep hearing about their defense. Their defense are critically thinking all the time within a system. And the reason for that is they've played small area games. They've done that type of work all the way through. And that's why we hear the defense jumping up, pinching at the right time. It's not part of the system. It's part of their thinking. And it goes along with this system. Another challenge is time. I was down on the coast with my son, and he played Atom Development and Pee Wee AAA. And they had 2 practices a week. And on the Wednesdays was our travel game, and Thursday morning was our early morning practice. So when we played at BWC, North Shore, Hollyburn, T-Birds, we gave up our Thursday morning practice all the time. In AAA, our early morning practice was Monday. And again, if we had a tournament, if we had a game on a Sunday, or most people just don't want to get up early on a Monday to start their week, we gave that practice away. So again, you look at it and you look at the time. Well, do we really want to implement games? We only have 60 minutes. And then over that season, we talked about 2 practices a week. We really averaged 1.5. So then we're looking at what's most important. Again, it comes back to that system and different things like that, not small area games. Games, fun. So another element of this is when you're looking at the games is, hey, we have to get ready for a weekend. We got a big competition coming up. We're playing the Kelowna Rockets this weekend, or we're playing Victoria Royals. Do we really want to put in a game? We got to get ready. We got to be ready for their system, right? That's another obstacle I see all the time going into the coaches' room. The other is we can't have fun. We've just lost 2 or 3 games in a row. We can't have fun. So again, this is the challenges. It doesn't matter if it's minor hockey, professional hockey. These are the challenges we're facing all the time. Those are just some of them. Now, some of the benefits to it, again, it's fun. It's a benefit. It's fun playing small area games. And one of the things, I'll give you a task here. When you go back to your associations, if you get a chance to get on the ice, and I want you to walk in the dressing room, I want you to go in there with your best enthusiasm and go, okay, guys, we're going to do the forecheck tonight. We'll see how many guys are excited about that practice. Okay, you walk in there and you say, hey, guys, we're going to play a game today. You'll be amazed to see the difference in their eyes. You can use that game at the start to start your flow of your practice, have excitement. You can use it in the middle to change the tone of your practice. You can use it at the end of your game just as a reward as well. So again, it's a fun thing to do is these small area games. Competitive. You get the most out of your players in this atmosphere. It's an excellent atmosphere to get them. Again, they may be tired. They may not want to continue on practice. You mention you don't play a game at the end, you'll find a whole other level. It's like we talk about back checking. You watch your top guy back check. Doesn't back check that hard. All of a sudden, turnover, he's got a whole other gear. That's like playing small area games at the end of a practice. You might not have a great practice. All of a sudden, you throw a small area game in at the end, and it's a totally different enthusiasm and level to it. Winning and losing. Again, this is an area, winning and losing. You can teach this. You can teach to love to win. You can have rewards for the guys. You can teach hate to lose as well. You can have, again, you can do it as a bit of a punishment. There's a skate, there's push-ups. There's another aspect to it of sportsmanship, teaching players how to win properly, how to lose properly. We talk about it all the time on the bus is, do they really care if we won or lost today? That's something you can develop in the small area games as well, is how you take a loss, how you take a win. I had a chance to work with the first round NHL draft pick, and it was quite interesting. And I tried to leave him alone for as long as possible because he had a lot of failure at small area games. And it finally grinded on him because he was a competitive guy. It grinded on him. He finally comes and asks, why am I losing all the time? This is why. His shifts were too long, didn't move the puck, didn't move his body. So this is an area, again, sorry, hit that. This is an area that we were able to discuss and teach and get him to play better. And he was a first-round NHL draft pick that struggled at small area games because a lot of his time growing up was systems, spring hockey, putting systems in to win the spring hockey tournament. Those are elements that kind of held him back in those small area games. Another area, skill development. And it's interesting right now, the NHL is played with 8, 9, even 10 players all in a corner. I watched a Philadelphia Flyers and a New York Rangers game. It was like watching a novice hockey on steroids. It was 10 guys in a corner, banging around in the corner. All of a sudden they went out And Corey talked about there's not a lot of neutral zone, right down to the other end, into the corner, banging around, just like watching novice hockey, just by very skilled people. So what's it going to take to be successful in these small areas? It takes puck handling, it takes puck protection, shooting in tight spaces, shooting in traffic. Tori touched on quite a few of those elements within that. That's what we got to teach for these guys to be successful. The game's not going to change unless we're going to implement, like the NBA, a zone rule. They can only have 3-4 guys in a corner. The game's going to be played the way it is because, well, I get paid to coach. I'm going to do my absolute best not to lose and to win hockey games. And the best way is to take time and space away. So that's what's going to happen all the time. There's those corners, it's only going to get tighter. Our guys are getting bigger, faster. It's hard to create that space. These are the skills that you have to have, and the small area games is what develops that. How do you have success in this tight space? I touched on it, but again, skills. You need to have skills. And again, it doesn't matter if you're a first line or a fourth line. Those skills are all different. We're not all teaching Patrick Kane's out there, but a fourth line guy just having his hands out over to the side, protecting that puck, that's a skill. Okay, being able to shoot that puck in a tight space. We can teach that to anyone from a first line to a fourth line, and it may look different, but again, it's a skill. You need to be competitive. Okay, you can't play this game unless you're going to be competitive. In the small area games, that's what brings that competition out and about, is that competition every day, putting something on the line, whether it's a reward or a punishment, and having that hate to lose. Again, you got to hate to lose in those small area games. We can teach that. What this comes down to, and Corey talked about those 50-50 battles, it comes down to who's the guy who's going to come out of that puck, out of that corner with the puck more often than the other person. And that's where small area games comes. If you continue to work on these areas and put it into the whole entire development model, that's what you'll have, is those competitive players playing every time out there, hating to lose, working their skills, developing. It's a great way to go about the game and continue to add it at every chance you get. There's those small area games. Again, thank you very much for having me here. I'll be available if you guys want to talk about this at any time. I'll be available tonight. Thanks very much.
Great, Steve. Thanks very much. And we're not done with Steve yet. He'll be part of our hot stove panel coming up a little bit later on this evening, along with Barry, Dave Newson, and Corey as well. I got so motivated by Aaron's speech that I forgot a part of our script here, and we had a special gift for him. So I want to call Aaron Hoffman back on the stage if we can here. Aaron? Got it? Right. You got it already? Oh, well. We'll get you in the photo op at the end of the night. How about that? All right, back for round two. We're going to talk a little bit more now about multi-sport and alternate seasons. And please welcome back from Hockey Canada, Corey McNabb.
I was just checking my phone, and unfortunately, no emails for the beauties folder as of yet, but that means we must be on the right track so far tonight. Interesting thing, Aaron and Steve and I didn't have a chance to talk prior to what our presentations were going to be. And again, it's information that's based on experience and information from other people and research that's kind of drawn the conclusions that we've come upon. And I think it's important that we have more and more people talking about the benefits of what we're trying to do with the game to make it better for our young boys and girls. And I'm going to talk a little bit of a umbrella philosophy called long-term player development. Every sport in Canada is mandated by Sport Canada, which is the governing body, to have a long-term player development philosophy. You're mandated. So there's 67 sports that are recognized by Sport Canada. Funding from Sport Canada flows through to the sports for this type of thing, and everyone is mandated to have it. We get audited, we get questioned, we have to provide information and data on what we're doing. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the biggest thing is probably physical literacy. Physical literacy means kids can run, jump, swim, crawl, you name it. It's about movement skills. And hockey is no different. Hockey is actually one of the most advanced sports when it looks at the physical requirements to play the game. Not just skating, but shooting, passing, checking, stopping a puck as a goaltender. the multitude of physical attributes you need to play the game in hockey is probably more prevalent than any other sport. And so I'm going to go through again a bit of a condensed version of this. The presentation is available for everybody. But we're also talking about multi-sport participation. We have gotten away from multi-sport as a country, just like a lot of other countries have, and we are so focused on early specialization. We are so focused on creating the hockey player, the tennis player, the golfer, versus the well-rounded athlete. In every single sport right now in the world, the top players are also the best athletes. There might be a top soccer player who only plays soccer at 12, but chances are they're not the top soccer player when they're 18. We see phenomenal hockey players at 12 years old, and they might be the best hockey player in their age group, but they're not necessarily the best hockey player when they're 18 or when they're 25. Hockey is a late specialization sport that requires continuous development of skill to get to the highest levels. So there's a lot of things that go into this. We're going to talk about this a little bit more tomorrow morning as we get into the system. But for us, it's about leading, developing, and promoting positive hockey experiences. And that doesn't just mean in the rink. A hockey experience can be as a team, playing floor hockey, playing basketball, playing soccer, whatever it is. It's in participating in other aspects. For us, it's about the gold standard. How do we create the best hockey program in the world? And I'll guarantee it's not 12 months a year of hockey. It's not on the ice 7 days a week. Providing participants with a positive experience. Okay, looking at participants and the long-term player development principles. This is generalization, but basically studies have shown it takes about 10 years or 10,000 hours to master a skill. So for that to happen, it means a player, one, you have to develop the fundamental skills, and you have to be physically literate. It also means you need about 3 hours of training daily over the course of 10 years to reach that number. That doesn't mean training in one sport. It doesn't necessarily mean structured practice. It could be playing touch football. It could be playing road hockey. It could be doing any activity. At the end of the day, it's about getting kids active enough during the day that they're going to continue to develop these skills. Kids don't get the same amount of physical activity in school as they used to. Kids nowadays have really, really active thumbs, and you parents know what I'm talking about when we talk about that stuff, but it doesn't do the rest of the body a lot of good. Okay? So it has to be about physical activity. Some of the drawbacks in our system, Steve mentioned it. Unfortunately, for a lot of minor hockey coaches, it has become about winning. Unfortunately, in a lot of places, if you don't win enough games, they're not going to let you volunteer next year. It's a mentality we have to change. It's not about the outcome, it's about the process. And a lot of our youth hockey situations right now, we overcompete and undertrain, which means we play more games, we don't practice enough. We have adult programs imposed on kids. You go in any number of rinks across Canada every year, and we see coaches working on the trap and the left wing lock and set breakouts and forechecks, but the kids don't know how to skate, they don't know how to angle, they don't know how to pass. And they're trying to make up for a lack of skill with over-system, over-structure, which at the end of the day has huge negative results. A lot of times our most knowledgeable coaches are at the elite levels. I know one of Aaron's jobs is to get the best hockey people in your associations working with the younger players and working with the coaches of the younger players. There's not a lot of fame in coaching a 10-year-old team across this country right now. There's fame at the higher levels, at the professional level and the Olympic level, but we really, really need our best and most knowledgeable coaches working with the young players. Our competition system interferes with athlete development. I bet if I was to ask Steve if he wishes they would play 10 less games a year and give him 20 more quality practices at the Western Hockey League level, they'd probably take it. But the game structure, when the games are, the number of games takes away from quality practice, takes away from the time to continue to develop. Early specialization is demanded. The number of times I get emails from parents saying, my coach wants my daughter to be a left defenseman, and only a left defenseman, or I only want my son to be a centerman, or I only want to be a goalie at 6 years old. The more positions you play, the more sports you play, the better off you're going to be as a hockey player at the end of the day. Consequences: poor movement abilities. It's funny, even at higher levels, if you were to take 4 or 5 kids and do a drill, you could tell in about 5 seconds which one's a forward and which one's a D as soon as you have backward skating involved. Because all these years, these kids from the time they're 5, 6, 7, 8 were told they're a right winger or a left winger or they're a forward. They never got a chance to play defense, learn the game from a different point of view, learn the different skills that are involved in becoming a defenseman. Goaltending. We have so many goalies in this country right now that are going to be a goalie at 6 years old. They got the mask, they got the skates, they got the gear. Guess what? When you're only playing goal, you're not getting the benefits of learning the game, the hockey sense side of it. You're not getting the benefits of skating and handling the puck and shooting. Why we have 10-year-old goalies who might not be playing on Saturday because they're the backup sitting on the bench for an hour instead of actually being out there playing a left winger or a defenseman is beyond me. As goaltender parents, I'd be standing up in front of your association screaming nonstop. Why do they have to sit? Why can they not play left wing? Can they play defense? You're going to develop more goaltenders with better skating skills. We have our national goaltending camp going on in Calgary right now this weekend. There is more time spent on skating with goaltenders and movement and athleticism than there is on anything else, because it's a huge lack of skill at the higher levels of that position in Canada right now, because we focus so much on the technical component of just a butterfly, dropping down and blocking, hoping the puck hits you. As you get older, it becomes athleticism. And again, it's the base of everything that's going to give kids success in the game. The more athletic you are, the easier it is to learn position-specific skills later on versus the other way around. For parents, we know there's a lot of coaches that believe in this type of stuff. We know there's associations that believe in it, but you get a lot of pressure from parents. Our job is to educate parents on the benefits of being a well-rounded athlete, of being a well-rounded player. And it's okay for parents, like Steve said, it's okay to want to win. It's good that we want to win. It's good that kids don't like to lose. And it's good that parents want their kids to make the NHL or their daughters to make the women's Olympic team. We just think if you go about it the right way, they're going to have a better chance. And that's the number one thing that we want to try and get across. Okay? Preparation geared to short-term outcomes. As a coach, a couple of practices at the start of the year, you play your first game and you lose 7-0. It's really easy to change your philosophy and coach the team so you don't lose as bad next Saturday versus sticking to the plan about making sure that your kids are getting better and developing. We need to get associations to back the coaches who are doing the development components. As a result, success and winning will happen. It's sticking with the program. This is really important, and I hope there's a lot of discussion around this stuff this weekend. But as an association, there's 2 things that are really, really important. Number 1 is consistency in the coaching philosophy, doing whatever you can to get all your coaches in your association on the same page, getting them all moving forward at the same level, focusing on the same things, and consistency in what they're teaching. Every time we do a coaching clinic, I always ask coaches at the start of the year, how many of you guys have said to yourself, I can't believe what these kids can't do or what these kids don't know? Everyone in the room puts up their hand. And then I ask them, what if I ask that question to the guy who's coaching your kids that you had this year, and he puts his hand up because he says, I can't believe what they can't do and I can't believe what they don't know. We have a lot of great coaches in this country. We have a lot of coaches with really, really good intentions. But trying to get them on the same page as far as what they're teaching and how they're teaching it is really, really important. It would be fabulous for every Pee Wee coach in your association to know exactly what the Adam coach just finished teaching them last year so you know where to start, instead of having to go to the start of the season and go back and reteach or unlearn or go over this again and again and again. Detroit Red Wings are probably the best example of a professional team with their farm team who was on the same page. They've been known for a long time about putting guys in the minors, and sometimes people say they put them in the minors too long. But the difference is when those players come up, they can play right away. They don't come up and fail and then go back to the minors for 3 or 4 years. They come up, they can play, they can participate. And it's not just about knowing what the system is. More importantly, it's about having the skill set to play that system. They can all skate, they can all pass, they can all shoot, they can all think. If you as associations can encourage your coaches to get those 3 things done, you will see a dramatic level in the rise of the skill. You will also see a dramatic rise in the level of success that your teams are having against other communities. And let's be honest, in Canada, when you're in small town Alberta, Saskatchewan, BC, the best thing that happens on a Saturday is when you kick the butt of the team that's 30 kilometers down the road. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with wanting to win. But let's start taking steps to go about it the right way. As an association, your players have to enjoy coming to the rink. The players want to see themselves get better. Why do you think they play video games for hour and hour on end? They want to get to the next level. Today they got level 16, then they want 17, then they want 18. When kids are young, the first kid who raises the puck is the hero of the team. Then the first player who can shoot the puck into the top corner, unbelievable. And then it gets to a point where they don't even care about the net, is who can shoot it over the glass. It's always about trying to get better and better and better. And kids love to see themselves get better. That's why they'll ride the skateboard over and over and over, try tricks again and again and again, because they want to see themselves get better. And developing the players to get to the next level. The next level means from Atom players are all playing Pee Wee. The Pee Wee players are all still playing Bantam the next year. But it also means, like Aaron said, 17 kids from one small association going on to play junior, or kids going from the Western Hockey League getting drafted to the pro level. That's success. When you have more and more kids from your program that are continually playing the sport every single year, and the ones who want to have the drive, want to try and get to the next level, that's success. So by implementing a standardized technical curriculum and methodology for instruction, you're building that foundation. You're going to keep coaches longer. You're going to keep people on your board longer because there's consistency. People know what's going on. They know where the support is. It's easier. It's not starting over every year, every year, every year. I know it's hard in minor hockey associations. You have board members are changing over all the time. Executive members are changing over all the time. But the more you can do to put a plan in place for consistency and standardization, the easier it's going to be. At our national level, we get tons of people. We have a lot of coaches who just finished playing pro and they want to come and coach our World Junior team right away. Hey, great, we enjoyed the enthusiasm, we'd love to have you. Everybody wants to be part of the outcome, but it's the process along the way which is actually the best part about determining who should be part of that outcome. Putting in the time, learning. Those are the things where you're going to see the best coaches, the best administrators, the people who are in, and the people who are in it for the long haul and will follow the process, because that's where they're going to learn the most. You're going to make mistakes, and that's fine, but you're going to learn from them. All players at 9 years old are on the pathway to high performance if they want to be. Doesn't mean they're all going to get there, but they all should have the same opportunity. There's no one out there that can tell you right now which 10-year-old player is going to be the best player when they're 18. There's people that will try and tell you they can say that. We did a study about 5 years ago in the Western Hockey League. Less than half of the players on rosters at the end of the year were drafted. That means 50% of those kids were never drafted, so at that point, people didn't think they were good enough, but they developed, they improved, they made it. That stat is slowly getting better and better. You look at the NHL draft, there's going to be first-round players that are picked this year that will never play a single game in the NHL. And there will be players that were never drafted that are going to become all-stars. It happens, but our system right now, when it comes to long-term player development, is looking at short-term player development. We're more interested in who is the best today, not who's the best next week, next month, 5 years from now. The number one thing we need to do is look at it long-term. Continue to maximize every single person's potential. None of us would stand up for it in the school system at grade 5 if the teachers said, well, you're not going to amount to anything. You might as well just quit, go do something else, and put all their attention on who they perceive to be the best students. Every single player in this game pays the same amount of money. Everyone deserves the same amount of opportunity to develop. Everyone deserves the same opportunity to get where they want to go. Some kids just want to play hockey for fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. Bantam and midget players who are involved in other activities who want to play Friday nights, beer league hockey without the beer, hopefully. And there's other players who will do whatever it takes to get to where they want to go. And we have to make sure we have opportunities for all of them. Talent identification. Long-term player development is just that. Keeping kids around long enough to determine what they can really do. Long-term player development isn't having an evaluation where you give kids 2 skates and then you cut. Tell them they're not good enough. Our system in Canada is such a pyramid. We cut players at every single level, tell them they're not good enough, tell them they're not good enough. It should be more like a house. We need to keep as many kids playing at as high a level as possible for as long as possible. That's where we're going to continue to keep kids in the game. That's where we're going to find those diamonds in the rough. Most of you obviously know Shea Weber. We saw a clip of him earlier. He wasn't drafted in the Western League. Neither was a Jerome McGinley. Neither was Tyler Ennis. There are scores and scores of players who persevered because they weren't selected here. But many kids who aren't selected there, I think Aaron or Steve mentioned it, that they're perceived, if I'm not playing AA or AAA at 10, well, my hockey career is done. That is so far from the truth. For every Tiger Woods who was groomed to be a golfer from the time he was 2 years old and made it, has a few issues going on now, but there's 100,000 kids whose parents tried the same thing and it didn't work. We have to keep kids in the game long enough to see what they can do and really maximize their potential. Long-term player development. If you pick a player, you better play him, you better play her. They all pay the same amount of money. Every kid deserves to be out there in the last 2 minutes of a period or two minutes of a game. Remember Ken Hitchcock at a seminar one time telling a story when he was coaching midget AAA in the Edmonton area. Got down to the playoffs, the finals, and he went down to his best 2 lines for the last 6-7 minutes of the game. They ended up winning. Saw a couple of his players a few years later, and he said something that really stuck with him. There was conversation come back to about winning a championship and this and that, and the players said, you know what? It's kind of empty. We never got to play. We didn't feel part of it. We felt like we weren't good enough. Yeah, we got the banner and we got our picture with the trophy, but it doesn't have a lot of meaning. And even worse, coaches who only play their best players at the end of the game and lose, now it's a lose-lose situation. You only played your best players and you still lost. And especially in Bantam and Midget and probably in Pee Wee, what happens still, old school thought, when kids play a bad game? Bag skate. Well, guess what? The kids who never got to play, they should actually get to sit on the bench and watch. It's not their fault they lost. We need to get that mentality from coaches. Story I told in Toronto a little while ago, and I actually did this to a friend of mine. We were golfing, and he's a guy who really believes in shortening the bench and doing whatever it takes to win, and we got to like the 4th hole. I told him, I said, Dad, just pick up your ball. He's like, why? I said, well, you're not really a good golfer, and this is a tough hole, so you should just watch. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you're going to slow us down. There's sand, there's water, there's trees, there's everything. I said, you should just pick up your ball. And he didn't really see what I was doing at first, and he was getting mad. And I said, look, I'm trying to make a point here, and I know you're probably pissed at me, but that's what you make kids feel like. We need to make sure they're included. Aside from missing practices or bad penalties or things like that, when it comes down to just pure skill, you got to give everyone a chance. We've gone through working with long-term athlete development experts in other sports. We've created what we believe are ideal seasonal structure. Numbers of games, numbers of practices, when those games happen. And obviously it's going to be too small for you guys to read the print, but we've done it for initiation, novice, Adam, Pee Wee, Bantam, Midget. The first thing people think is, you guys are taking games away. We're not taking games away. All we want to do is create a season where the games are played at the proper time. More front load the season with practice, more back load the end of the season with games and tournaments and that type of thing. But give coaches enough time at the start of the year to actually develop the skills in the kids that they need. I was coaching in Calgary. We had a decent system where we get 10 practices before your first game is scheduled. And I used to get coaches calling me all the time, hey, you want to play exhibition games? You want to play exhibition? I'm like, no. I'm not giving up a practice to play a game when, again, 5 kids are on the ice, 10 are sitting on the bench. And they say, well, how about you come play us and we'll come back and play you guys on one of your ice times. I say, well, we'll come play you, but we're not going to give you a time back. I'm like, well, that's not fair. I said, no, exactly. We don't want to play. Because you cannot get that time back to miss quality practice versus a game. We wanted to play games at the end of the year when, you're not working on the 2-foot stop, you're not working on that stuff, at the end of March. Let the kids have fun. Finish the season on a fun note. So we've done this for every single age level. We've also divided into sort of community and developmental, if you will, recreational, competitive, whatever you want to call it. Ties into alternate seasons of play. Right now, there's a lot of kids in this country that would love to play hockey once a week because they swim, because they ski, because they do other things, but the commitment level required is only one option. 4 days a week from September into March. We believe there should be pathways, there should be options for kids. If you just want to play recreational, that's fine. You don't need to travel on Tuesday night, you don't need to travel on Sunday. But there also needs to be that competitive model for the kids and families that want to do that. And so especially for those of you in larger associations, take a look at those structures. Take a look what you have available. You might get another 20, 30, 40 kids sign up to play hockey if it was once a week or twice a week, or they practice once a week, every other week, and then they just played. There's nothing wrong with that. I grew up in a small town, northern Alberta. We had a lot of kids that used to be in the Minor Hockey Association when I was a kid. We were never in a league. All we did was play tournaments. We had 2 or 3 teams in each age group. They were all balanced, equal skill as much as possible. And we'd practice 10 or 15 times, we'd go to a tournament. Practice 10 or 15 times, go to a tournament. And then we had some parents who kind of thought, well, we should get in a league. All of a sudden now you have to drive an hour on Tuesday night. You have to drive 2 hours on a Saturday to play the other communities around. Guess what? They only got 1 team in each age group right now. Not because kids don't want to play. It's the commitment. Families are busy. It's expensive. It doesn't have to be expensive. But we need to start to rethink about some of those things and how we do it. So again, you'll get the presentation. You can look at a lot of the stats. We're not taking games away. It's more rearranging when those games happen so that the season is front-loaded with development, more gameplay at the end. Eliminate playoff rounds. Some of you might be wondering what that means. It makes absolutely no sense why some kids are done hockey at the end of January in this country because they didn't make the playoffs. It makes no sense why we have round after round after round of playoffs in Atom, Pee Wee, Bantam, even midget hockey. And some kids are done 2 months earlier than others. I believe every single league, every team should make the playoffs, and your playoffs should be one big tournament at the end of the year, where every kid gets a chance to play at the highest level of intensity as late into the season as possible. If you're on a team or in a league where some teams don't make the playoffs and they're done early February, over the course of 3 years, that's 6 months of hockey that someone else is getting more than your son or daughter. Let's face it, in Bantam AAA, you don't make enough money at the gate to keep going round after round after round of playoffs. Every time you got a trip, there's $1,000 for a bus, there's hotels, there's meals. Your hockey season for AA, AAA, the cost will go down if you don't have all those cash calls at the end of the year because you got another round, you got to drive here, you got to drive there. There are good players who maybe play on weaker teams that don't get seen by scouts, who don't get the same opportunities for the gameplay at the same intensity level. That's for the NHL. That's for the Western League where those kids are preparing to get to that point. But everything else should be giving as many kids as possible the same opportunities. We need to get rid of the playoff rounds. The other thing it does in minor hockey, when you're done in February, pushes kids right into spring hockey because they're not ready to be done. It's still winter in most places in Canada in February. But the problem is spring hockey doesn't just end in March or April. It goes until July. So now we have kids on the ice 12 months a year. The number of kids we see nowadays with overuse injuries, chronic groin problems, sports hernias, it's astronomical compared to what it used to be, and it's all overuse. It's the same skating motion again and again and again. Not to mention burnout, not to mention boredom, not to mention tired of it, lose the passion. And it's not just hockey, it's all sports. Tommy John surgery used to be a symptom in baseball players and older men. We see 16-year-old kids, 20-year-old kids having elbow surgery now because they're throwing way too many curveballs at a young age. Sport has to get past the rush to get kids to an elite level. You have to get past the rush to want to win at every cost and start looking at what's actually in the best interest for our kids. So again, you'll be able to look at that. Another pet peeve of mine. At the start of the year, your first session on the ice should not be a tryout. It should not be a penny with a number on the back. Don't screw up, kid, because you might get cut tonight. Why are we in such a rush to start our season? Currently, it's because the season ends in February, so we need to start real early and cut all these kids just so they're not doing anything for February, March, and April. If you're in 5 associations that are all playing each other in a league right now, talk to each other this weekend and say, can we push the start of our season back 3 weeks? Can we play longer into the winter? Give all your kids a chance to get on the ice 5, 10 times. You take pressure off parents having to put their kids in 13 hockey schools in the summer. Some of those kids are as good as they're going to get September 15th. They've been on the ice for 12 months, hockey schools for week after week after week. They're not getting better. In fact, they're probably going to get worse because they're tired. Most of our teams' kids, they do some sort of a warm-up before games. Usually it's running around a parking lot trying to avoid cars or buses. Very, very few teams do any type of a warm-up before practice. It is probably more important to do a proper warm-up before practice than it is for a game. At the highest levels, they do it. Junior, pro, they're always warming up before practice. So when they get on the ice, you're not wasting any time warming up. You're already warm, you're ready to go. Everything's activated, your mind's ready, you're ready to go. I've helped coach midget AAA for the last few years, and the coach had want guys there for an hour before practice. And he talked to them for 5 minutes. What are they doing the rest of the time? They're on their phones. So we started implementing. We're doing a 30-minute athletic warm-up. Stations. It might be push-ups. It might be jumping jacks. It might be juggling. It might be anything. Go on the ice and practice, come off the ice, and that's our cool down, is doing the same thing, athletic stuff. And I stole that from Finland. They will, at most levels, their kids are doing 12 training sessions a week, and parents are like, 12 a week? How are we going to manage that? 30 minutes before practice, 30 minutes after practice, there's 3. Guess what? Tuesday night is off. Parents, you actually get a night off of the rink. You're saving money on gas. Your kids are actually going to get their homework done. They're actually going to get to bed on time. A lot of this stuff is common sense. It's a matter of just sort of thinking about how can we implement this? Why do our kids need to be, you are going to get more done in 30 minutes than a practice in 30 minutes than you will be doing practice, off-ice workout the next day, practice, and off. You'll get more done in 1 day than you will actually accomplish in 4. The rest and recovery is going out the window for our kids, and it's the most important thing that they need. Playoff rounds, we already talked about that. We need to get more kids playing deeper into the year. Alternate seasons. A lot of rinks, especially in bigger cities, the ice is in 12 months a year already. Why not offer a summer season for kids who are doing something else in the winter? Still give them a chance to play. Why not offer 12-week programs? Maybe someone only has time to play hockey October, November, December because they're skiing, they're swimming, they're doing something else in January to March. We need to start being creative. How do we get more people into our sport? How do we keep more people playing? We have a lot of new people coming into Canada. See the sport on TV, maybe never played it before. It scares them when they think, well, we got to do this camp and goalie camp and it's this and it's 5 days a week and it's expensive. That's a perception, but it doesn't have to be that way. We can offer alternate seasons. I know a lot of men's leagues do. Got a summer season, spring season, winter season. Some guys play in all 3, but some play in 1, some play in 2. You might play in one, skip one, go into another one. There's options. And as adults, the number one thing we want with everything we do is options. And we have to look at that. How do we do those? 4 3-month seasons. We would get a lot more kids playing the game. And you never know which kid might just get enough of a taste of it in 3 months that they want to continue. Could be the next president of your association, could be the next Connor McDavid, could be the next Joe Sakic. You never know. So our system needs to be always thinking about ways to be more inclusive. Video of Sidney Crosby talking about multisport.
I think I played every other sport as a kid pretty much, to be honest. I think I played for our school football team. I played basketball for our school basketball team. Obviously, I didn't play, as competitive as hockey. Baseball was huge. Basically, I played, hockey in the winter and baseball in the summer. So spring hockey didn't really kind of take off until I was probably 10 or 11 years old. So I used to just play baseball all summer, go to a couple hockey schools, and that was really the only hockey I got in the off season. So I think it's really important to play other sports. I think you learn a lot about different things, different ways other sports work and things that can carry over to hockey and vice versa. But I think being part of a team, obviously in most of those that I mentioned, you're part of a team and a different dynamic, and it's all the same. When you're part of a team, it all kind of boils down to the same stuff. But it's good to be introduced to different people. Usually with hockey, you're always on the same team. You see the same kind of kids. But with baseball, football, basketball, you're meeting new people, and I think that's important too. So I was a big fan of playing all kinds of sports, as many as you could.
Best players are the best athletes. YouTube, if anyone goes on there and search Sidney Crosby baseball, he went to the Pittsburgh Pirates batting practice, hits a home run first pitch. The guy's an athlete. A lot of the top players are athletes. Bo Jackson. There's a lot of players that are high-end athletes right now that are multiple sport athletes. Tom Brady, drafted as a baseball player. Russell Wilson, drafted as a baseball player. It's not a coincidence. Some of these stats here, children who specialize in a single sport account for 50% of overuse injuries. That should be enough right there for parents to look at. Why are we not doing multisport? Our kids are going to get injured if they're only doing one thing. Children who specialized early in a single sport led to higher rates of adult physical inactivity. Early specialization in a single sport is one of the strongest predictors of injury. And these are all studies by big universities in the US and in Canada and around the world that are saying if your kids only play one sport right now, I'm telling you, your son or daughter will be injured. We need to take a look at that. Children who specialize early are far greater risk of burnout due to stress. They think they always got to make it. They always got to be the best. Stress is the number one thing that affects performance. It's the number one thing that affects kids' lack of sleep. It affects their life. It affects school. It affects everything else. They get sick. They get tired. They get run down. More of that is due to stress than anything else. Early sports specialization in female adolescents is associated with increased risk of anterior knee pain disorders and future ACL tears. These are stats. This isn't someone's opinion. This is stats that are shown. I won't play the Gretzky video or the Jordan Eberle video, but there, again, you'll get the presentations. This is talking about other sports, how other sports help them become better hockey players. I do want to leave you with this one video, and it's done by Hockey Nova Scotia, Sport Nova Scotia. It was written by the same people who do This Hour As 22 Minutes. So as you can imagine, there's some funny stuff in here. Some of you have probably seen it, but for those of you that haven't, I think it's a pretty good little parody on what we're dealing with in sport today. So we can go ahead with this one.
Oh, I see a lot of new faces here. Who wants to go first? Hi, I'm Jill. I'm a recovering soccer mom.
Hi, Jill.
Ever since Bailey was 5, I've been driving her to early morning practices, after-school games, weekend tournaments, summer camps, indoor winter league, Spratum League.
Spratum?
Spring/autumn. I lived in my van, never saw my husband, but it was okay because my sacrifice was making Bailey a better player.
But we encourage our kids to play sports so they become better people.
Tell that to the little brats, huh? Who play other sports during the rest of the year and then steal all the spots on the soccer team?
Perhaps those kids are better athletes because they play other sports?
That makes no sense. Bailey is out there every day, kicking the ball until her feet are numb.
You say that like it's a good thing.
And then one day, out of nowhere, Bailey tells me that she doesn't want to play soccer anymore. She can't even look at a soccer ball after all the years I put in.
How old is Bailey now?
Going on 7. Why?
When a child plays only one sport, sometimes they have a higher risk of suffering repetitive injuries. They can burn out, and they get turned off sports altogether.
I found myself at 5 o'clock in the morning the other day, sitting in the van, and I realized I'm not a soccer mom anymore.
Encourage Bailey to try different sports.
So I shouldn't have sold the van.
All right, would anyone else like to share?
Hi, I'm Todd.
Hi, Todd.
I bet the farm on my son playing in the NBA. Literally, I took out a second mortgage on the family farm to pay for basketball camps. Things were looking great for a while. Justin made varsity in middle school, but then...
Did he get injured?
Worse. He stopped growing. He's 5'5". Genetics is a cruel mistress. I can't even look my own son in the eye now, and it's not because he's so darn little.
Is it because you're going to lose the farm?
No. Because he's playing on the JV team.
But is he having fun?
I never asked.
Maybe you should, Todd.
We're with you, Todd. As a parent, you just want to see your child succeed.
Our Daniel could have played in the NHL. Went to all the day camps, straight into night camp, hockey school, hockey.
Hockey?
Twice the hockey and no school.
We thought he was the next Wayne Gretzky. He wasn't even the next Brent Gretzky. Hasn't been on skates in 15 years.
Early sports specialization can actually hurt a child's overall athletic development. And by encouraging their son to only play hockey, they may have actually hurt his chances for succeeding. But what is Daniel doing now?
David doesn't like to speak about it.
It might help to share.
My son is an astronaut. I still have all his hockey gear.
He still keeps his skates sharpened.
He's still draft eligible.
He's 34 years old.
Gordie Howe played until he's 50.
You need to get over it.
I know.
Admitting it is the first step. How about you? Would you like to share?
I'm Wade. I'm only here because my son made me.
And why is that?
He says I'm trying to live vicariously through him.
Is that true? Right. Well, let's all remember why we encourage our kids to play sports.
To win.
To be a star.
To get rich.
We encourage our kids to play sports so they can have fun and socialize and learn to be part of a team. Is forcing our child to play only one sport and then putting a whole lot of pressure on them to succeed a really healthy thing to do?
No.
Good. Repeat after me. Kids who play more than one sport get more out of sports.
Kids
who play more than one sport get more out of sports.
All right, well, I think, like I said, a little bit of a parody on sports parents in general, but a lot of that is stereotypical, and we all know how stereotypes become stereotypes because a lot of it is true. So I'm going to leave it there. Obviously, this is a component of sport that I'm very passionate about. A lot of people around the world in multiple sports are very passionate about this and making sure that our young boys and girls are athletes, not single sport participation, that we're always looking at doing the best thing for the kids at the age that they're at so we can truly develop kids and make everyone meet their potential. So I'm around tonight and tomorrow if anyone has questions or comments or wants to fire an email for the beauties folder. I'll be looking forward to those as well. And again, thank you very much.
Thanks, Corey. I know that many people in this room probably have parents like that in their association that can relate to that for sure. We're just going to take a short 5-minute break. We're going to come back with our hot stove. We're going to set up some chairs and a little Q&A session here with our special guests. So stand by. We'll be back in 5. Thanks.
Yeah, they're coming here. Oh, that's good. Stay on that side.